how are you?
Good.
Could you talk a bit about today's flight?
Yeah, we have 250-kilometer race today. We were worried that we might have a lot of high cloud, but it looks like good luck. We haven't got the high cloud. So we have blue conditions, a little bit of cumulus on the mountains, maybe as high as 3,000 meters. But we expect to be able to start flying at 1 o'clock at local time. And the start gate should open about 2:30. And we're looking forward to a really good race today.
Good. And the task is?
The task is, first of all, to the east, towards Font-Romeu, on the eastern end of Cerdanya Valley. And then we go all the way to the west, past the Sort Valley, to Prix, which is right on the in between Sort and Pont de Suert. And from there we come back, and I think we go to Colcanto, which is a little bit to the south, trying to remember, and then back to Font-Romeu for the final glide.
Perfect. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
So Lucas was first yesterday, so let's see with him. Hi Lucas, how are you today?
Fine.
So could you tell us a bit about yesterday's flight?
Yesterday it was very difficult flight, in difficult weather. So all the day, sometimes we could find normal thermals, but normally it was not. It was very turbulent, small bubbles, and it was a good lesson for me of mountain flying.
Conditions for today's race were excellent, with a strong south wind, broken but strong thermals up to 3,500 meters on the high mountains, and good visibility, and we were able to get away with a really good start. Most people climbed up to 3,000 meters or more before the start and descended back and came into the start zone in a very orderly fashion. And as we can see here, Mike Delta climbing, getting away first, and everybody making a good start. Well, it's a little bit too much energy available for some people, and one or two were a little bit fast at the start, but they only got quite small penalties for this. And we can see that there was a thermal just after the start, and one or two of the competitors tried this, but very quickly rejected it because it was two choices: to go left onto the Pic Pedro and climb back up to 3,000 meters before taking the first leg to the first turning point, or you could take a lower route and run on the ridges along the south faces of the ridges on the north side of the valley, going to Montlouis. And the first climb on Pic Pedro went really well, but we can see that Graham Parker chose the low route to take the ridges to run to the first turning point. Good ridge lift, but which would be most efficient? And running into the turning point, everybody had climbed really high except Graham, who took the turning point and was running back along the ridges. But we can see that he's 1,500 meters lower, and he didn't really recover from that because he didn't get a good enough climb at the end. After the first turn, where the majority of competitors went round quickly, led by Sebastian and Mike and Maximilian, they're good altitude, 2,500 to 3,500 meters. They cruised back mostly together to climb on the end of the Carlit near the Puy-Moron Valley. And the climb was not bad. They climbed quite well back up to 3,500 feet. Everybody was pretty close together and in touch, and it looked like we were in for quite a close race at this point, with nobody getting away. You can see the cumulus that they had over the Puy-Moron Valley, very good conditions, but these conditions didn't last the entire race. The second part of the race was quite a lot different. The climb to take after the Puy-Moron Valley was quite a good climb, and we can see that Sebastian climbed up to 3.8, and we have the several people now up at 3,700 meters. Mike and Gilles Navas went off to the north to get back up to a high altitude, but they didn't really work for them, and they had to come back. It got stuck. Thomas and Didier and Gilles are running together, trying to chase Maximilian and Sebastian, who are running away ahead. They got very high, and coming up to the Valley of Andorra, they were well ahead, but what nobody really noticed was Peter and Thilo. Peter and Thilo were running way to the south, and they took a lower route along to the south all the time without much deviation off track. By the time Sebastian got to Saloria, Maximilian and Louis had caught him, and they were all together. The good lift around Saloria area brought them back up to 3,700 meters, and they were able to run down the ridge towards the Sort Valley before crossing over to the Montseny mountain. And the climb here was critical to give them a very clean run across and be able to climb high. It was slowly opening out now with Sebastian, Louis, and Maximilian pulling ahead, but all the time, Thilo and Peter Temple were pushing on, always a little bit lower, but always a little bit faster. Now it's going to be very interesting to see what route they take. Peter took some altitude, and Thilo took some altitude to cross over the Sort Valley, and we can see the options that they could take. And they needed to get onto Montseny with as good an altitude as they are able, in order not to have to climb on Montseny, because the thermals would probably be very turbulent there. But as they went on past the Montseny mountain, they started to come back together again and climb up to get a good position, and the little group stayed together all the way to the turning point. So having crossed back over the Sort Valley, coming onto the Lorry Mountain, right next to the Col de Canto turning point. And it's really a good place to get good altitude, and we saw that they were able to come around into the turning point and through really quickly, but then climbed after the turning point. And Peter Temple was in company with Sebastian and the other group, but Max, Louis, and Sebastian chose to go north, and Peter went on track. And Peter was running on track, but Thilo had already gone. Thilo had already gone through the turning point, and Thilo was now running actually straight on track, much lower, down at 2,200 meters, nearly 1,000 meters lower. And he was running on track to get into the next leg. We can see the conditions at La Rabassa. They had wave cloud on the top and cumulus underneath. The little group with Sebastian, Louis, and Max climbed, and they good morning. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody's refreshed, full of energy, all ready to go for the race day 4. Did you all have a nice day yesterday? I think it worked out well. We had a nice sunny morning to do things and a nice sunny evening. Yeah? And the rain just came when we should have been racing, but that's the weather. We enjoyed our rest day as well. It was good. Rennie and I went flying, which we enjoyed. Grinding around in the gloom was fun. So we're going to get on with the rest of the competition, part 2. Before we start the briefing, there's a couple of things. I'd like Mandy Temple would like just to say a few words about some things that are happening in Australia. Mandy. Mandy is the IGC delegate for Australia.
So, Thank you, everybody. I think earlier in the competition there was a little bit of confusion. Perhaps we're from New Zealand or Australia. So I bring this to remind everybody we're from Australia. Never. It's a curse. I always speak too quickly. I apologize. So I have three things. One thing is information, and two things is some question. Perhaps you can help me a little bit. Brian said I'm working with IGC, and I'm also working with the Gliding Federation of Australia. He wants perhaps to eat the kangaroo. So first, how many pilots here have already been and made a holiday in Australia? Can I see how many people? Oh, good. Okay. So it's a good place to fly, and it's very interesting to fly there. So in January, we have the Women's World Gliding Championships. Like, keep it. So maybe if you have some friends that are nervous about coming or want to come or want some more information, I will be the contest director at Lake Cupid, so please tell them to ask questions. If they have any problem to find a glider, to find accommodation, it's no problem. We can help everybody. And if you would like to come crewing, make a holiday, it's no problems also. Later, we have another competition in Narromine. A few years yet, but again, if you have questions, please, I will be involved in that competition also. Every year in Australia, we bring a coach from another country, comes to Australia to help the Australian coaches to be better coaches. And this year, we don't have a coach candidate. So if anybody would like to come to Australia this next summer, please send me an email. I will put my email on WhatsApp, and you can send me an email, and we can see if it's possible. You can come and make a holiday, do some coaching, and then we find you a glider. You can fly a competition. It's difficult. Sometimes we have thermals at 16,000 feet. It's too easy. Maybe you fly a task 160 kilometers per hour. I'm sorry, it's so easy in Australia. It's not really a competition, but if you would like to come, it's possible. The third thing, with IGC, I'm on a committee. We try to find how many pilots fly gliders in every country. It's a big secret. They tried before 3 years ago, and the data was not accurate. So I'm interested to know if anybody can tell me any ways we can get better data from your country. If you have any information, I would like to know. In Australia, we have good data. In Australia, it is much easier because every pilot must be a member of the Gliding Federation of Australia. We know in Australia the membership of the federation is reducing. Every year, the membership goes down 5%. It's reducing. So we made a new program. I'm running a new program now in Australia called Soaring to the Future. We try to make some changes to make the clubs do better training for the students. Last year was the beginning. I had 4 clubs. My 4 clubs, their membership went up 20%. So this is a good success. Now I have this year 10 clubs, and the next year we try again. So I'm interested to share this information I put on WhatsApp, but also I'm interested perhaps in your country you have another idea to help with maybe more female pilots, maybe more junior pilots, more competition pilots. I would like you to tell me any information that you have. So I hope to see you in Australia at some time flying. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mandy. I think Mandy is also president of the GFA, the last president of the GFA, so very involved there. René, say a word about Fly Tour, please.
Okay, good morning. We're very pleased that we had a pilot that used the tool, the Fly tool. So it's electronic safety box. And as I said, it is anonymous unless the pilot wants to say something about it. But it's basically an encounter that they found flying in a thermal, and the tug plane passed by. So it was really close. And we talked to the tug pilot. He recognized the error. We talked to the glider pilot. He's very happy that we addressed that, and the problem is solved. Okay? So I'm very happy that we use that tool. It's very good for us. And the last thing is 2 hours after all the flights are uploaded, we receive the encounters or the proximity analysis. Okay? The day 3, we had 0 encounter. I'm not saying this is safer, this is a good or bad. We're just providing information for you guys. Okay? So maybe it's a good thing, but we got 0 last time. That's it.
Thank you, René. Thank you. We enjoyed yesterday all the pictures from everybody, what your activities. We saw Mike spent his day in the laundrette, washing his clothes. Sebastian sent a message about rules. This is really important because technology changes and we must stay with the technology. And the forum, the place to do this is if you do have ideas like Sebastian's yesterday, please can you send them to René? And René is a FAI official, but is also in the Sailplane Grand Prix management team. And René will make sure these are discussed with that team, and when we think there's some merit, we change the rules. In fact, the rules for the Grand Prix change every year. Every Grand Prix we get feedback from pilots, we get feedback from the competition, and we modify a little the rules. They're quite stable, most of the rules, but little things change. But the one thing we do need to do is stay with the technology. And if there's new technology that makes it safer, makes it easier, then we need to do that. So please communicate any ideas with René. René will make sure that they're properly discussed and dealt with. So let's get on with the briefing. We have podium. Normally it's at 6 o'clock. If we can make it 6 o'clock, if we're late, of course, we have to delay it. It's respectful for all the pilots. The last 2 nights, we have podium, and we have very few pilots coming to the podium. So please, it's part of the game. It's all part of the game. You all compete together, you fly together, we play together, we stay together, and we show respect for each other. Tonight dinner is at 7 o'clock, I believe. I believe it's 7 o'clock. So it's here somewhere. I know nothing about this apart from it's 7 o'clock. No. Okay, we made a new airspace file, and I'll explain this to you. We talked about the helicopters and Santa Leocardi, and yesterday Sergi went to the helicopter base to discuss it with them. On the times when we have used this turning point for the final glide, we returned this way. And I think it was on the last day there was not an encounter, not a problem, but a helicopter was fairly close to gliders returning. And the captain of the base said, look, we really would like it if you'd call us. Yeah? So we have agreed with him that in this area, when we enter this area below 6,100 feet, then we will call. We try and avoid making final glides through here now for the next 2 days. But if you are entering this area, you call. You can put this airspace file in if you wish, yeah? But it's a radius of 8.5 kilometers, is that right? Or is that a diameter? I think that's the diameter. It's 5 nautical miles radius. Sorry, okay, so it's 4.5 kilometers radius, not 8.5. So it's 4.5 kilometers radius, this. So you can know that. But if you are passing through here, below 6,000 feet, then you call them on 118, just to tell them where you are. And they can be sure that they will tell any helicopters. There's another addition. Outside where we fly the task, these are the most extreme turning points. But missing from the airspace file is a danger area, a prohibited area, which is the other side. We've included that in this file because there is a possibility if we use this turning point and you were low, you might want to go on to climb. I don't know. Anyway, that is a prohibited area, and it's on the other side. Neither of those additions affect today's flight, so you don't need to worry about it this morning. So the weather. We have a still low pressure area to the west of Spain, and we have fairly slack low pressure area over the Pyrenees and quite a moist southwesterly air mass. But the weather is good, but it's got a few things that make life a bit tricky for us. If we look at the forecast cloud basis for today, we can see that most of the area, most of our task area, is only about 2,800 to 3,000 meters. Nowhere can we see a forecast for much more than 3,000 meters. quite a lot lower than we've been used to, and it makes it much more difficult to use the high mountains. We also, if I just go on a moment, we check that with Top Meteo and we get the same sort of information. There's one here high, but mostly it's about 2,800, 2,700, this sort of height. The wind is southwesterly, and the wind is going to be moderate, yeah? In this wind direction, it's quite normal for us to have wave off the Caddy. So there's quite a good chance of getting some wave from the Caddy in this valley here and above the Marangis Valley. Our big problems today are over the Andorra area on the big mountains. We have a risk of quite a lot of spread out, of congestus, and not such a high cloud base. But certainly to the south of us and to the east of us, we expect a lot of cloud and rain. So we expect the south of the Caddy and along the coast here, the very, very moist air may well filter back in to the east. We may well find the low cloud comes back in on the eastern end of the valley, but our particular problem we're concerned about is that very moist air that's to the south of us can grow into quite a lot of overdevelopment, and it spills over into the valley. And it spills over into the valley and brings showers or overcast, no sunshine, later in the day. And we're concerned that after about 4 o'clock this afternoon, this end of the valley could become completely overcast and possibly even raining. So we've set the task mostly to the west. It's a zigzag task. We try really hard to avoid in and out turning points and to separate you. So we go from the start point all the way to the west to south of Monsenia Mountain and then down to Beaumont. Take care. Beaumont, this turning point is 3 kilometer radius. That one is 3 kilometer radius. The reason for this is the ground north of Beaumont is quite high. And if the cloud base is not so high, then we need to be sure you can arrive before you get to that really high ground. It's 6,000 feet, the turning point. 6,800, I think, the turning point. And the ground here, you can come in and it's much lower. With a southwesterly wind, it could be that you're ridge soaring and you'll have to come round into the valley to get to the turning point. So Beaumont is 3 kilometers. All the other turning points are 2 kilometers, except for the control point. And the control point is Puceda. From Beaumont, we go back to the north, down to Torreda, and then Le Pic and home. It's a slightly complicated flight, but you're already good pilots, so you'll work that out. Task sheets. Have we got the task sheets? Okay, you'll get those in a moment. And that's the end of the briefing. Start. Yeah. Just to remind you, the National Park airspace, if we can just go back. Sorry? Escape. Oh, yeah. That's not such a good idea. No, it's not a problem today. Yeah, Rennie wanted me to remind you, the National Park airspace up here, north of Monsenia, is 3,500 meters. There was a little confusion. The file is correct, all the information is correct, but we just thought we should give you a reminder of that. The start procedure. There is, sorry, shall I just ask? We are using a start procedure. Sorry, we're using a start procedure on the radio that's slightly different to the start procedure written in the rules. You're all happy with the start procedure on the radio? It's giving you information you need? We try not to say more than is necessary because of the confusion. And the rules say we have to go on and say every 15 minutes you must be behind the start line, you must be behind. But we leave that until later. You're comfortable about what information you're getting on the start. If anybody's not comfortable, please come and see us. And we think that the way the rules are written at the moment, it's too long. Yeah, it's saying too much all the time. Yeah, the yellow one. It's Class D. You call them if you're landing there. So we want to go to the end. We expect to launch at 1 o'clock. Yeah, we expect to launch at 1 o'clock. So please be pushed back any time after 12:30. We need to push back in time to launch the Pollo Sonda, and we want to launch the Pollo Sonda about 12:50. Well, in this wind, he can just take off, I think, in front. It'll be okay. Yeah. In this wind, we can just put the Pollo Sonda in front. We don't need, okay. So we push back after 12:30, ready for launch at 1 o'clock. See you on the grid, guys.
Quand j'ai fini ça, je coupe. Et quand on finit ça,